want to kind of level set a little bit before I turn it over to Monica. I think everyone who's on here is very, very interested in physical activity. I know a number of the names that I see in the participants, and I know you all are very passionate about this. And I know many of you, like me, believe that the most impactful thing you can do for your health on a minute by minute basis is to move. And I think we know that. I think everybody knows that. I don't think a lot of people dispute that physical activity is not a good thing for you. The challenge is, we're not doing it. And we're not doing it around the country. We're not doing it here in Michigan. We're ranked as the 24th state for physical activity in the country. Michigan Moves has a goal of being number one in the country. That is our BHAG. That's our target long term. And we have always believed, and this is us at Michigan Moves, but then kind of our parent organization, Physical Activity Alliance, if you will, we've always believed that it's not a matter of getting people to know that movement is good. It's about creating the structures and the systems and the policy changes to make the active choice the easy choice. And so that's what Michigan Moves was born to do. We were here to help make the policy and systems changes necessary in the state to make us more physically active so we can all enjoy the health benefits of physical activity. And while all of us on this call get to enjoy those benefits, many other people don't, because structurally we're set up to be a culture of sedentary inactivity rather than a culture of activity. And at both the Physical Activity Alliance and Michigan Moves, we want to shift to a culture of activity. In fact, the PAA has a goal of making more than 50% of Americans to meet the physical activity guidelines by 2050. And we're only going to do that by states like ours rolling out robust plans and then allowing our plan here, along with some other state plans, to serve as a template for the rest of the country. So as you're thinking about the work we're doing, I really want you to not just think about what we're doing for Michiganders in terms of getting them more active, but to also think about the blueprint and the template we're providing for the other states throughout the country to do this exact same thing. So with that said, I want to transition over to Monica. She's got a lot of great information to present, so I'm actually going to go off screen while she's presenting. I'll come back on for some polls at certain points. But Monica, let me turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Mike. I'm not seeing my slide. Hold on just a moment. There we go. So for everybody that I haven't met, I've already introduced myself, but I'm so glad to have you here. And I know this is the first time you're learning about Michigan Moves. For those who have been a part of our coalition journey so far, thanks so much for being here. It's great, as Mike said, to see some familiar faces. I want to start by acknowledging what an accomplishment it's been to get to this point. Developing a strategic plan for Michigan Moves Coalition, our organizational roadmap for this next 5 years, has been a tremendous lift. And what this does is it really defines how we'll grow, what we'll focus on, and how we'll support all of the work that you guys are doing across the state. So over the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to cover foundations. First, we'll dive into our mission, vision, and values. Then we're going to take a look at our goals and strategies. We will then start to look at our strategic priorities. And then we'll discuss our 5 core programs. These are what you'll actually see as the work that we're going to be doing over the next several years. And then we're going to cover the phases of how we're going to shift as an organization. And then we'll finally show you some sector early wins that are already in motion for 2026. So let's start with our foundations. Our mission and vision haven't changed. These have been the North Star since day one. So our mission is unifying the physical activity community in Michigan to facilitate their action and amplify their impact. We're not here to do this work all by ourselves. We're here to connect the people already doing great work, help them do it better, and make sure their impact reaches further.
Hey, Monica.
Yes.
Your slides don't appear to be showing, so can you try to share again?
Yes. I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Oh, now it's oddly saying send request.
Gotta love Zoom. Shout out to Ayana McKnight from PAA for answering my quick text to make sure that you could see the slides. All right, we're going to get the slides up because Monica's done a great job. Part of her public health background was intense graphic design on Canva. There we go. All right, I will go away.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So where were we? We were talking about our vision. So our vision is creating a healthier Michigan where all residents feel inspired and have the opportunity to be physically active. Notice it's not just about getting people to exercise, it's about creating an environment where everyone feels inspired and has real opportunity. Both of those things matter. And what's new in this strategic plan are our values. These are the principles that guide every decision we make, every partnership we form, and every program we design. So the first is evidence-based. We use data and research to inform our strategies. We are action-oriented. We don't create plans to just sit on a shelf in the hope that someone is going to take action. We're offering programs that lead to more physical activity. We are trustworthy. We show up, we follow through, and we're honest about what's working and what's not working. We are equity focused. We prioritize communities and populations that have been historically underserved, and we know that physical activity isn't one size fits all. And we're audacious. We've set a big goal to make Michigan the most physically active state in the nation, and that takes boldness. So these values aren't just words on a slide, they're how we operate every day, and they're what you can expect to see from us as coalition members and partners. So here's the thing about physical activity. No single organization can solve the physical inactivity crisis alone. Not a health department, not a school district, not a fitness foundation. We all try. You guys are all doing great work. But the barriers are just too significant. And so the solutions really need to be multifaceted. And that's why we built this coalition. So right now we have over 100 members representing 60 organizations across Michigan. These members span all types of sectors that touch physical activity. And they're the ones that are shaping our strategic direction, connecting stakeholders across sectors, and making sure that what we design actually works in real communities. Currently, they're working to finalize the Michigan Physical Activity Plan, which I'll discuss here in a moment. The coalition is organized into the 10 sectors you see here. So the list we have here is business and industry, education, faith-based settings, healthcare, media and communications, military and first responders, public health, recreation, parks and fitness, sports, and transportation, land use, and community design. You can see that if you are a part of physical activity, you have a place here in our sectors. And this breadth really matters because the policies and programs taking place across all of these different sectors affect whether people are active or inactive. So real change is going to require action across all of these 10 sectors, and that's why we've made sure that there is a sector for all of your work. Mike, do you have some questions for the audience?
I do have some questions for the audience by way of a poll. So we're going to attempt to launch a poll right now, and hopefully you're all going to attempt to answer. So the poll that I'm putting out there right now is, if you are here from one of our sectors, can you please note in the poll what sector you're from? And if you're not here from one of our sectors, please also note which sector you're affiliated with. And Monica, the good news is that the poll seems to be working and people seem to be answering. So we'll give everyone about 30 seconds to answer. And then I will put the poll out there. It looks like it's a pretty good mix. I don't see anybody continuing, so I'm going to end the poll and then hopefully we can share it. So I just shared the results. It looks like got a lot of people here from the education sector. Apparently it's lunchtime in the schools. Decent representation from the healthcare sector. Unsurprisingly, public health. Looks like public health is our most represented sector here. And it looks like we need to reach out to the people at faith-based settings and transportation, land use, and community design because none of those are there. So thank you, all of you, for joining. Now, I've got another poll that I'd like to share really quickly with everyone. And this is actually a really important poll. So I would like you to take a second to answer this. And if you are from Michigan, then I think you can answer this very directly. If you're not from Michigan, I think you could still provide us an answer, which is, what is the value of what is the most important thing being a coalition member brings to you from a value perspective? So this is an open-ended question. You can give a short answer. So let's take a couple of seconds here to type in an answer, and then we'll share. But what do you think is the most valuable aspect of being a coalition member? These could be things like advocacy. It could be things like shared resources. It could be networking and partnerships. But we really want to make sure that we're serving two constituencies very well. Certainly, Michigan residents are the population that we really want to influence in terms of improving their physical activity. But also, we can't do our work as a coalition without amazing coalition members like you. And really knowing what is valuable to you is really important. So I'm going to keep the poll up for another 20 seconds here. If the poll ends and you do not have the opportunity to type your answer by the time the poll ends, or you're watching this afterwards, please email me and let us know how we can be of value and service to you. So I see people feverishly getting in their answers. Good work typing fast. So I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to view the details. Oops. Well, you can't see that web browser, so I'm going to do this. So I'm sharing the results right now. Can you see a Wordle in front of you? Is that what do you see, Monica?
I just see the coalition value. So if you can see some of the answers, feel free to shout them out.
Yeah, great. So it looks like resources was the biggest thing shared resources, the biggest thing that came up. Networking, learning, advocacy. We had 30 answers. Resources showed up 7 times, advocacy 4, networking 4, partnership, collaboration. Very, very helpful. So, please feel free to share more via email with me or with Monica. We would love your insight on that. So thank you so much for sharing. Monica, I will turn it over to you.
Great. So we just finished up talking about the coalition. Now we're going to shift to the Michigan Physical Activity Plan. For those of you who have been around with Michigan Moves for a while, this is something you've heard over and over again. But for those who are new to the organization, the Michigan Physical Activity Plan, or the MPAP as we call it, is a comprehensive evidence-based roadmap for increasing physical activity across the entire state of Michigan. It's a set of strategies and tactics that spans all 10 sectors. So we're talking about what needs to happen in schools, healthcare systems, workplace, parks, transportation, infrastructure, all of it. What will it do? This plan is going to serve as the reference document for anyone working in physical activity in Michigan. So if you're a community organization and you're wondering, well, what should we do? What type of program should we implement? What kind of things will really move the needle? This is going to give you those options. And if you're a policymaker, maybe you're thinking, well, where do we need to invest? This is also going to give you that kind of information. So a lot of really great things on the Michigan Physical Activity Plan. It's really designed to guide the systems change work, not just individual behavior change, but really changing the environments, policies, and norms that make physical activity easier for people. So where did this come from? Well, the Michigan Physical Activity Plan is based on the National Physical Activity Plan, again, something that the Physical Activity Alliance champions, and which is updated every 10 years. And that provides broad strategies for the entire country. But we didn't want to just copy and paste this and call it a day. So over the past several months, our 10 sectors have been reviewing the national strategies and really thinking about how they are in the Michigan context. They ask things like, what makes sense for Michigan? What are our unique barriers? What are our unique assets? And what can we realistically implement? And currently the sectors are finalized these more contextualized strategies and tactics right now with a major goal to launch the Michigan Physical Activity Plan across the state in May. And so what you're going to get in May is this plan that's grounded in national evidence, but tailored specifically to Michigan's needs, priorities, and opportunities. So this is a roadmap that we're going to be following as we think about how we're affecting physical activity in the state. And so the next thing I want to show you here is this slide is our theory of change. How does Michigan Moves Coalition work? So this is a lot on a slide. Let me take you through it piece by piece. As we've stated a couple of times, let's start with the problem. Why are less than a third of Michigan residents meeting physical activity guide? It's not because people are lazy. It's because we've built a system that makes people inactive. And we have limited access. Not everyone has a safe park nearby or could afford a gym membership. We have few supportive policies. Most schools don't require daily PE. Most workplaces don't build in daily movement into the day. And we have, cultural norms that treat physical activity as something that's more optional, that maybe, you're an athlete if you do. So these are systemic barriers, and systemic barriers require systemic solutions. So our solution, Michigan Moves, works with the coalition to implement the strategies in the Michigan Physical Activity Plan through 5 core programs, which we'll get to in a minute. And we're not doing this alone. We're facilitating, we're funding, training, and supporting organizations across the state to take action. And when we do that, here are some of the changes that you'll see. Organizations will have enhanced capacity to deliver physical activity programs. Communities have more programs and resources available. We have supportive policies at the state and local level. We have improved built environments, safer sidewalks, better parks, more bike lanes. And over time, we start to see the cultural norm shifts so that movement becomes the default, not the exception, not the exception. And if we achieve all that, here's the impact. All Michigan residents, not just some, but all, have the opportunity to engage in regular physical activity. And that leads to healthier communities, a stronger economy, and dramatically lower healthcare costs. So everything we do rolls up into one overarching goal: make Michigan the most active state in the nation. Is this bold? Yes. Is it achievable? Absolutely. To get there, we've identified 4 strategic goals. Our first is to increase physical activity participation among Michigan residents. This is our North Star. Our objectives are to increase the percentage of people meeting the physical activity guidelines and to decrease the percentage of those who are completely inactive by about 3% and 5% respectively, and ultimately reach 500,000 Michigan residents through our programs. We'll establish baseline trends in at least 5 key populations and aim to see measurable increases in at least 10 sector-led projects. And finally, to ensure we're reducing geographic disparities, we'll be implementing programs in at least 15 underserved communities. This goal is more of what are the main outcomes we hope to achieve, and the next 3 are really how will we get there. So our second goal is strengthening physical activity systems and infrastructure. This goal is more about building foundations. Our main objectives here are to complete and launch the Michigan Physical Activity Plan, to create and launch the online resource hub so we can disseminate programs, tools, and training, and to achieve the early wins our sector committees are working towards, which I'll get to later here in the presentation. Our third goal is to advance evidence-based policy. For this goal, we'll identify and advocate for at least 3 state-level policy priorities, document and share at least 10 evidence-based program models, and secure commitments from 30 employers, institutions, or municipalities to adopt physical activity policies. And our last goal is to build sustainable organizational capacity. This is about making sure Michigan Moves can sustain this work long-term. Our objectives are to grow our coalition to 150 individuals from at least 75 organizations, to raise $7 million over 5 years, to hire at least 7 staff members, and to distribute at least $500,000 annually in grants, and achieve 70% brand awareness among Michigan's physical activity professionals. Now, we have a lot of strategies across the 10 sectors in the Michigan Physical Activity Plan, and several project ideas to really fully reach our vision. But as we get started, we can't do everything at once. We simply just don't have the capacity or funding. So we've set priorities that we think will make the most impact on physical activity as our organization grows. Our first priority is activating movement among the inactive. Research shows that the greatest health gains come when people go from zero activity to any level of movement. So even small increases make a huge difference for health outcomes, healthcare costs, and quality of life. Our second priority is youth physical literacy and access. Kids who develop physical literacy, which is the skills, confidence, and motivation to be physically active, are more likely to stay active throughout life. So we're prioritizing efforts that build those skills and expand physical activity opportunities for young people across Michigan. Third, we're focused on empowering underserved communities. Our data shows significant disparities across education and income levels. Communities with lower socioeconomic status have lower activity rates, and this is not because people don't want to move, but because of systematic barriers. We're going to target these communities intentionally, working to remove barriers and create access. And fourth, we're prioritizing support for underserved populations, specifically older adults, low-income individuals, and people with disabilities. Data shows that these populations have consistently low physical activity levels, and it's causing a major impact on their health. So with that, we have another poll to share with all of you.
Monica gave me the job she knew I could handle, which is pushing the launch button for polls. So I shall do so again. So for this poll, what we're really looking for, and I'll launch it now, is which of the priorities most resonate with you? And again, this is if you're in Michigan or you're not in Michigan, please take a moment to share. We think all of these priorities are important. That's why they're priorities. But certainly we want to hear, everyone's perspective. I see the results coming in real time here. There's a race between activate movement among the inactive and youth physical literacy. All right, so it looks like all the answers appear to be in. So I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results. So it looks like activate movement among the inactive is the top category, and then youth physical literacy and access is a close second, and then underserved populations. And it's really exciting to see that robust response around activate movement among the inactive, because as Monica said, that is where we get the biggest bang for our buck in terms of improvements in health and well-being. So I will stop sharing for now and let Monica take it away with core programs, and then I'll be back in a moment to share another poll.
Yeah, great. So now we're going to talk about our core programs. And as I discussed earlier, we have a lot of really great work planned over the next couple of years. But in order to try and make sure that we could talk about that succinctly, we actually tried to categorize some of the things that we were doing to make it really easy to communicate to others. So we categorized our work into 5 major programs, and I'm going to share those here with you. The first is advocacy. We're going to develop and support state and local policies that increase physical activity across all 10 sectors. This includes developing things like policy briefs, fact sheets, hosting advocacy days, and mobilizing legislative champions. Our next program is campaigns. We'll launch statewide multimedia campaigns to reframe physical activity as essential. Depending on the goal of the campaign, they will target residents, practitioners, organizations, and/or decision makers with tailored messaging. Our next is grants. We'll provide capacity building grants to community organizations to implement physical activity tactics aligned with the Michigan Physical Activity Plan. This puts financial resources directly into the hands of local organizations that are doing this work. Our fourth program is measurement. We're going to publish the Michigan Physical Activity Report Card, which I'll talk about again later. That's basically our annual snapshot of physical activity levels and progress across the state. And we're also going to collect indicators from each of those sectors and from any program that we run to make sure that these programs are effective. And tools and training. We're also going to create evidence-based resources and training curricula and implementation guides for practitioners and community organizations. We're going to do this by assessing needs, developing materials, and measuring uptake and outcomes. And I know that that was one thing that we said earlier that everyone is excited about with the coalition. So go ahead, Mike, if you want to launch the next poll.
Sleeping on the job over here. Sorry about that. Monica did this amazing run of show for us. There's so many things on it that my brain got confused. So this poll being launched right now, which of the core programs are you most excited about, or which one do you find the most valuable? Ooh, here everybody comes. Grants, advocacy, grants, advocacy, grants, advocacy. Grants. I have a feeling the money's going to win. It's typically
I
what
kind of
happens.
thought that would be the case,
If
but
I
I
was a,
still wanted to know.
if I was a betting person, and I would assume that the advocacy is so we can get more money to give more grants. That's probably the way people are thinking of it. All right, I'll end the poll. Um, I'll share the results. So as you see here, show me the money wins with 36% for the grants. Advocacy 28%. That is really, really helpful to know that. We've been trying to think very thoughtfully about how we do our advocacy work. So very interesting. Monica, I will stop sharing the poll and I will turn it back over to you, and then I'll be back in a couple of minutes to facilitate a little bit of a interview with Monica. So Monica, take it away.
Great. Yeah. So now I'm going to shift to talking a little bit about the phases. You might be thinking, oh my gosh, this is a lot. And where do you even start? So the great question is we've broken down our work over the next 5 years into 3 distinct phases. The first phase is really building the foundation. And that's going to be 2026 through early 2027. As we discussed, we'll launch the Michigan Physical Activity Plan. We'll continue building our coalition. We're going to establish organizational infrastructure. We're going to do a lot of fundraising to get us kicked off. And we're going to focus on building brand presence. We're also going to disseminate our first report card and develop some of those toolkits that we talked about earlier. And so this is really about getting those fundamentals right so that we can get us kicked off. The next phase is amplifying our reach, and that's going to run through 2028. Once the foundation is solid, we're going to start to introduce those grants that everybody's very excited about. We're excited about them too. We're going to finish hiring our full team. We'll launch our first behavior change campaign, and we'll introduce a lot of policy briefs that's really going to be at the state level. We're going to expand our measurement work, diversify our funding, and then we'll also start to host some more events and provide technical assistance across all of our sector work. So this is really when Michigan starts to feel that momentum behind the work that we're doing. And then finally in phase 3, we are going to scale for impact. So this takes us through 2030. Here's where we demonstrate measurable impact. We'll actually have the data to show that. We'll scale our models that work. We'll advance the coalition work to the next level. We'll pursue more major partnerships, expand multi-sector collaboration, share our successes through both state and national channels, because as Mike said, this will be a model we think that other states will want to follow. And we're also going to mentor some of the other states as well at this stage. So this is when this model starts to really feel like it's working. People will see that progress. Maybe in 5 years, we won't yet be number 1, but we will make considerable change. And we will start to be in that conversation of what is Michigan doing? How can we replicate that? And so now we've just talked about this giant, ambitious plan. And so now I want to talk a little bit about, kind of this timeline of what it is to be with Michigan Moves. So one thing is we know that we're going to need some investments. And so what this slide is really going to cover is investment, the reach that we hope to make, and the return on that investment. So first, let's talk about investment. To execute this strategic plan, we've set a goal of fundraising $7 million. So what that does is, the work that we just talked about in all of those phases. This is everything from building that infrastructure to developing the resources to hosting events, to the grants that everybody is excited about. And so that is all the things that we're doing, and we're doing that by pursuing diverse funding streams to achieve this goal. And so what does that level of investment enable? Let's talk about reach. So as I mentioned earlier, our goal is to reach over 500,000 Michigan residents through our core programs over the next 5 years. And we'll also support hopefully upwards of 75 organizations with all of our resources, training, and technical assistance so that we can support their implementation of evidence-based strategies. And we're also going to disseminate many program models that communities can use right away. So those are some of the things that you'll see us doing over the next 5 years, and the way that we will reach Michiganders. And then finally, what happens when we do that? So it's really clear to see the economic and health value that this creates for Michigan. When people are more active, the benefits are really significant. So an active adult has up to $2,000 per year in lower healthcare costs compared to somebody who's inactive. And so if we move, some of those Michiganders from inactive to active, that is a huge cost savings for us. Physical activity also reduces the risk of over 25 chronic diseases, heart disease, dementias, some cancers, depression, all of that. And then for kids, it improves academic performance, actually, especially in mathematics. And for workers, it reduces absenteeism and boosts productivity. So it's really going to pay off for the entire state and individuals. So that's what we're really excited about with Michigan Moves. And I'm just going to wrap up the strategic plan conversation with just a snapshot of early wins. Each of our 10 sectors has set an early win that's going to happen between 2026 and 2027. And so you can see some of those here on your screen. But what we think about these is that this shows that we're not just going to keep, putting out plans, but we're actually doing the work. So here's a couple of examples that I'd like to highlight. In business and industry, we're going to secure commitments from 40 organizations whose CEOs pledge to implement workplace physical activity policies. So that's a big one. In education, we will measure the use of the comprehensive school physical activity program. And if people are not following that, then that way we can create resources that help them to support that. And then, in healthcare, we are aiming to design curriculum for providers that integrate physical activity interventions into their clinical workflows. So again, a really big, important piece, a resource that you all will see in the next year or so. And each of these 10 sectors have something that's a very tangible action that we will take in the next year. And so I think with that, I just want to take one quick moment to say we have a lot of progress that we are hoping to make over the next 5 years that we've discussed today. And we're excited to move forward. And, all of this is the start of that action. And you'll see that within 2026, you'll see lots of work coming from us. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back to you, Mike.
That's a lot. That's a lot, Monica. Did everybody get all that? There's going to be a quiz at the end. I actually thought for a second when you said physical activity improves math skills, I was like, I'm pretty physically active and not so good at math, so I must be doing something wrong.
Well, think
Um,
of where you would have been,
I
Mike.
can only imagine. So, that was a lot, and we acknowledge that, and we understand that while strategic planning is important, uh, everyone has plans, and it's really the impact you make in the world is how you execute on the plans. So now we are in the stage, we're moving from strategy to execution and implementation, and Monica has really been diving deep into all the things we're doing. So we're going to do a little bit of an interview format here. I'm going to channel my latent podcasting skills and see if I can still conduct an interview. So, Monica, we've got this great strategic plan, which you and our executive committee and our sectors have put so much work into. Let's actually talk about what's happening in 2026. Like, what is happening on the ground here in Michigan in 2026?
Yeah, so we've said this maybe 25 times through the webinar so far, but 2026 is really where we're shifting from planning to action. So it's all of those things that you saw in phase one. We're building our foundations. So some of those things are a little behind the scenes, but some of them are going to be resources and activities and things, events that you will see a lot of us. So the big event is the launch of the Michigan Physical Activity Plan, and that's taking place May 12th at the Day at the Capitol. We're also going to hold the Michigan Physical Activity Symposium the day before that to bring together physical activity leaders in Michigan. So if that's something that you'd like to join, please let us know. We are also going to share that first report card to show where Michigan stands on physical activity, and over the course of this year, we'll be launching toolkits and resources that organizations can use to start implementing the Michigan Physical Activity Plan that takes out some of that guesswork as to how to apply some of those strategies and tactics. And then finally, another thing that's going to happen, you're going to hear more from us. We're going to increase our communications because we have so much going on. And because we want to share about all the great work that's happening in physical activity across the state from our coalition members. So you'll start seeing a lot more about that. And we'll also be building infrastructure behind the scenes. So building our team, building the systems, making sure that we have a grants management team in place so that later on we can start launching those grants.
Is that it? Is that all we're
Yes.
doing? Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, everyone. It certainly is. And when you set a bold, ambitious goal like we have set, you really do have to focus on being bold and ambitious in your implementation. But we certainly can't do this on our own. And as Monica said, as we do our day at the Capitol and we do our symposium and we ask for people to volunteer to be on sector committees and provide their resources, we need everybody's help. So with that said, let's double click on the day at the Capitol on May 12th. I was at this last year. It was an amazing day. The governor was out there. We had 300 public area school students from the Lansing area on the Capitol lawn. People who know me well know that little kids freak me out. So thank you to Deb Berkey and her PE teachers for providing that buffer. Tell us a little bit more about this year's day at the Capitol.
Yeah, so as many of you know, nationally, May is typically the physical activity month, but it also is the case in Michigan. And so what we do as part of that is to host the day at the Capitol. And this is a big event that really brings awareness around physical inactivity. And as we continue over the next couple of years, we'll be, again, kind of raising policy ideas and advocating for policies that improve physical inactivity, or I'm sorry, that improve physical activity levels. And so this year we're using it as a stage to launch the Michigan Physical Activity Plan, which will help to guide policy. And we don't want this plan sitting on a shelf. So we're also trying to develop a complementary toolkit that we can launch hopefully around the same day, if not the same day, that can really support organizations as they start to implement the plan.
Awesome. Yeah. And so the whole day in its entirety will be packed. So we'll do the workout on the Capitol lawn in the morning from 9 to noon. That's led by Deb Berkey and the Society of Health and Physical Educators. Last year was 300 students. This year it's going to be 500. Press conference at noon to launch the plan, and then some legislative meetings in the afternoon. So it will be a full day in Lansing, and we are very, very excited about it. Monica, I want to talk about the scorecard, or the scorecard, the report card for a second. So, we there's a youth physical activity report card. I'm sure a number of you are familiar with that the Physical Activity Alliance puts out. This report card concept is something that people really get. Like, we understand report cards. Can you tell us a little bit more about what this is about and what we're hoping to do with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you said it exactly right. This is based on the concept of that National Youth Physical Activity Report Card, which, if you are aware of this report card, we do not have a high grade nationally for youth physical activity. So what we thought is we need an accountability tool for Michigan. We want to know how all of our age groups are doing and also how all of the sectors are doing. So we took this concept of the youth physical activity report card, and we are trying to collect that surveillance data specific to Michigan in all of the age groups that are relevant to physical activity. And what this is going to do is it's an accountability tool for us. It helps to collect that baseline data. It helps to understand where we need to move the needle most. And it's a concrete resource that organizations and communities and even practitioners can use to advocate for physical activity.
Awesome. And it's going to be a great resource for us to really put physical activity on the radar of everyone, particularly policymakers. They get report cards for sure. Monica, you talked about some increased communication this year. What does that look like? Why is it important? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I mean, generally speaking, it means you'll all hear from us more regularly. And that is, again, to share when we have big announcements. This helps to keep things like the launch of the Michigan Physical Activity Plan on your radar so you know when it's coming out. Any other resource that follows up, we're going to make sure that you're aware of that. But also, the other thing that we're going to do a lot more of this year is to really celebrate our coalition members and to promote physical activity that work aligned with our mission. So that might be something that we are doing, but it might be something that one of our members is doing that we say, look, this is a great best practice, or this is a great moment for them that we'd like to promote. And so we're going to do that through social media. We're going to make more updates to our website, and we're even developing a newsletter.
Awesome. And you said something there that I think is really important. It's elevating the great work that's happening in the state. One of the things we talked about in the very early days of the coalition is we know that there's great work that's going on out there, but it's happening in such a siloed, localized fashion that it never gets elevated. And so that is something we really want to do. And I think that's the power of the coalition. I think one organization by themselves has a hard time amplifying anything they're doing, but when we put the power of the coalition behind it, we can do some tremendous amplification. So this is certainly for our current members. But Monica, what about new members? We're always looking to grow the coalition. How do people get involved? What does that mean?
Yeah, so if you are interested in joining the coalition, that's so exciting because we are actively growing the coalition and we are absolutely welcoming new members. And so if you are interested, feel free to contact me or Mike. I believe we also have a web page that is for ambassadors, but that's another way you can reach out to us. And basically, the great news is here, 2026 is when our coalition is really going to start to come alive. They've been so focused on the Michigan Physical Activity Plan that has been a really great role for them, and we're so excited to bring their work to life. But we see those opportunities expanding. And so we see that there's going to be a lot more engagement opportunities from here on out as we start to shift that plan into action.
Awesome. Yes, please reach out. Please get involved. We cannot do the work that we're doing without you. And that's the great thing about the physical activity community, not just here in Michigan but nationally, is we all kind of rally together. And I think that's a really, really important thing to do. And I think this is a very important time to do it. So Monica, there's so much stuff going on, and it's all exciting for sure because I do think we're doing some really really important and impactful work here in the state. But you take all of that and kind of put it all together, wrap it up, and tell us what you're most personally excited with in 2026 for Michigan Moves.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to pick, but I am a programming person and I love that we are launching our early win projects very soon so that all of our members and even non-members who are following us, they can see tangible resources that they can carry out into the community and start to really feel that needle shift in physical activity. So I'm really excited about the fact that we are going to have those tangible resources for everybody, toolkits, things like that, so that our Michigan Physical Activity Plan is one that can be implemented.
Amazing, amazing. There's so much great work. I appreciate that you are the public health professional that is into the resources and the nitty gritty, which is amazing. So I'd love to tell you guys what I'm excited about. Do we have a second for me to do that,
Yeah,
Monica?
let's do it. Yeah.
So, for me, it's two things. I'm gonna get to pick two things. When you're the interviewer and you ask yourself the question, you could ask yourself two questions. I think I'm gonna start broad and then I'll zoom in here to the state of Michigan. The What I'm excited about, broadly speaking, is the time is now for this kind of thing. Like physical activity is more on the national consciousness than I think it has ever been in recent memory. Some of the data we're looking at is actually showing that there's upticks in physical activity. And politics aside, the MAHA nomenclature has made its way into America. And I want to completely set the politics of that aside. And let's just talk about the notion of make America healthy again. Like, that is an amazing wave that we can ride. And in all honesty, we're seeing stuff at the federal level that's showing up in things like healthcare, some of these innovation models from Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services that are requiring physical activity to be included. The President's Youth Fitness Test that you were involved in, Monica, regardless of maybe the path that has taken, the fact that it's in the national conversation is such an opportunity. So I do understand some of the challenges right now in the public health sphere writ large, but I think there's also tremendous, tremendous opportunity that exists for us right now. And I think that if we can kind of steel ourselves and stay focused and realize the opportunity that's out there, we can really start to shift the needle on inactivity, not just in the state, but in the country. So that's the kind of big picture. The little picture is, I think, here, the smaller picture, I think here in Michigan, what I'm excited about is being able to put this structure out for other states to be able to look at it and iterate on it. I believe we're going to be very effective in our execution. I believe we are going to move the needle. I do believe we're going to be the most physically active state in the country. I believe we're going to hit our goals. But more importantly, what I believe is with the support of the Physical Activity Alliance, we are going to be able to proliferate this model nationally. We have an opportunity to be the tip of the spear here in Michigan. And by 2035, the Physical Activity Alliance wants all 50 states to have a implemented physical activity plan. And we can stand on the shoulders of the giants like Eloise Elliott in West Virginia, who I think is on the webinar, Robin Shook in Kansas City. They've both done plans. The late, great Bill Cole from Texas, who did a plan. Like, they helped to kind of seed this. And now we have the opportunity to stand on the shoulder of those giants and take this to the next level. And then somebody can do the same thing with the work that we've done. So that's what I'm really excited about, is we're creating a movement for movement in our country. And I think we have an amazing opportunity to really be able to make an impact on the health of our nation in a way that it needs desperately. So those are the things I'm excited about. I don't get excited, as you could see. So it's hard for me to get that energy. So before we open it up to a final poll and to some questions here, we want to be respectful of everybody's time. We'll be done by 1 o'clock. Really, as I said, this is our year to make an impact here in Michigan. And all of you that are on this webinar right now or who are watching it afterwards have the ability to be involved with what we're doing. If you're here in the state of Michigan and you are interested in getting involved in our work, please join one of our sector committees. All you have to do is reach out to Monica, reach out to myself. We will get you on a sector committee. That is a very simple way for you to make an impact. We certainly would like you to stay engaged with us some way, somehow. So follow us on social media, subscribe to our newsletter. We have all kinds of opportunities for you to get engaged with us. We certainly are looking for funders and philanthropists to be a part of the work we're doing. So if this work would seem to resonate with people you know, we are very interested in how we can partner with organizations in the state to go for joint funding for something. That's really something that we have seen in the philanthropic community, both at the state and the federal level, is that funders are really favoring collaborative initiatives. And so we're happy to go to the table with you to strengthen the likelihood that we all succeed. For policymakers and for government officials, we want to engage. We want people that could be legislative champions. We want people who could help us make some of those policy and system changes that are necessary. Practitioners that are out there, so many of you are practitioners who are listening to this right now. We definitely want you involved in our sector committees. We want you using our resources. We want you providing us feedback. And to the Michiganders that watch this, we want you moving. That's the goal of this whole thing. That's where the rubber meets the road. So there is many ways to engage. There are many ways to help. This is an organization that is built on passionate volunteers that really want to make an impact. And we'd love for you to work with us in this process to help Michigan move more. So I'm going to push out my last poll. I feel like I've successfully done this 5 times, so we'll do it the 6th time. So I'm going to launch this poll, and I'm going to ask everyone, what is one step that you could take to support the coalition in increasing physical activity in the state? So you see those options that are there. Very curious what everybody thinks on this one. This is a poll I didn't have a initial thought on, so it'll be interesting to see. Got people saying they want to join the coalition. 2 of you, good. We'll figure out who you are and we'll call you. All right, I'm going to give it about another 15 seconds here. Oh, it's a good mix. Good mix. No one wants to connect us with funders. Not a single one. I would have bet that one wouldn't have been high. All right, so I'm going to share my poll here. And joining the coalition, 9 of you, we would love you to get involved, supporting our advocacy efforts, sharing our resources. All of these things are amazing. And we're also going to share this webinar with you afterwards. Monica's going to send this out with a copy of the strategic plan. We'll send a video, so you'll be able to share this with your network and your organization. So we have about 5 minutes for some Q&A, and I'm going to ask you to please use the Q&A feature on your screen. So you could use that to ask any questions. There are a couple questions that are already up there that I will answer. So Dave Larson asks, do you participate in the MParks conference? Yes, we have. Nicole Fisher is on our executive committee. MParks is part of the Michigan Moves Coalition, a really critical stakeholder, and we do participate in the conference. Nicole and I have talked a little bit about it this year. We're trying to see if it works to possibly do some work at the MParks conference this year, but we are definitely intimately involved with MParks as a part of the coalition. And then Meg asks, are we working with the Michigan Trails and Greenway Alliance? We have had some conversation with them, and we're working on formalizing that relationship. We're hoping we can get them on our Transportation, Land Use, and Community Design Sector Committee. But what you brought up, Meg, is I think really, really important, is that we don't want to work in silos anymore. We want to make sure that we're all singing from the same hymnal, so to speak. And so organizations like that and similar organizations, getting them under the umbrella of the coalition just strengthens the work that we're doing. Jessica says, oh, good. Somebody else from Henry Ford Health System. So we will definitely reach out to you. We actually have Beth Thayer from Henry Ford, who is a part of our work and on the healthcare sector committee, but we'll definitely reach out to you. Thank you, Monica, for posting that. Let's see. I see a understanding, this is from Jane. I know Jane. Hi, Jane. Understanding grants are short-term, long-term investment. We're for educating and offering tax programs. Yeah, so she's referring to, there's a House bill right now, House Bill 5256, that I believe is for tax credits for gym memberships and fitness services, kind of a state-level version of the FIT Act. We have not formally endorsed that yet. We have a kind of a policy endorsement process that we go through to formally do that. But I can tell you from an informal perspective, we're certainly in support of it. I know that's the Michigan Fitness Association. I believe Brian Reef is also on here right now. Jane, I know you're on the board of the Michigan Fitness Association. I know that the Health Fitness Association nationally is supporting this. I was just in DC on Tuesday with Mike Kaczynski, who's the policy chair for Physical Activity Alliance, and we were talking about this. So we're trying to figure out if this is something that may make sense for us to champion in our legislative day in May. So more to come, but that's the kind of legislation that can be so impactful, and that's the power of the coalition. Putting the coalition behind legislation greatly increases the likelihood of it getting passed because it's such a broad constituency. We signed on to Parks and Rec legislation last year as a coalition, and those kind of things are really impactful when we're doing that advocacy work. All right. So it looks like that is all the questions that I see at this point. Brian, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Thank you so much. Please be on the lookout for an email coming shortly from Monica and I. Thank you for taking the time today. Thank you for being involved. And thank you for what you are going to do with us in 2026 as we get Michigan to be the most physically active state in the country. And thank you, Monica, for your great work. Have a great day, everyone.